Hello.
So, hey, all I hear in my Facebook messages, where's Lauren? When's Lauren going to be back? I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm trying to get her on, but we can't ever connect up. But I get you on the line now. But I'm telling you, it's crazy. You would not believe how many people love what you had to say. I'm curious where you're at. You've been hiding out from me. I see you playing some kind of domestic role or whatever, but tell me where your brain's at lately. What are you thinking about? Tell me
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm still very much here as far as, I'm just kind of lurking in the shadows. I'm a long-time lurker now. I just have been trying to take it all in, I mean, it's just so crazy. I think it's kind of funny and I don't know, kind of, cool that I remember one of our last shows, we were talking about how quiet it was in the Delphi, media community. And we wondered out loud in one of our last ones if that meant that something was getting ready to happen, and how prophetic that we were kind of right, It wasn't immediate like that week or anything, but very shortly after. And I don't know, I think that's kind of a tell that we have with that. It gets quiet, the calm before the storm.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Keep on going with it.
So, I mean, I was just totally shocked when the arrest happened of Richard Allen. As a matter of fact, my husband, who doesn't even follow the case and literally looks at me and slow blinks every time I talk about it, like, oh God, here we go again. He actually told me, he said, did you know they arrested somebody in Delphi? And I was like, what? No, they did not. And I just was in total disbelief. I didn't believe it. I thought it was another false alarm, another rumor. And sure enough, we did give some fairly concrete confirmation. And then shortly thereafter, the FBI, the ISP said, they had arrested someone in connection with. And of course, I went to the press conference, and it was a whole lot of nothing. It was more, raised more questions than answers, as always. I'm convinced that this is like a TV show that's in its 30th season, and you think, okay, this is the last season, and then they leave the last episode on a cliffhanger and start a whole new season because we never really find out what happened, It's just been kind of one disappointment after another as far as the answers we're getting. But I understand, it'll come in time.
Well, on the back channel, we were just talking about that QC. Is what it's called, QCA? I can never think it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a psychologist. We have nothing to do with law. we stay as far away from the law as we can. But
the probable cause, the PCA, probable cause affidavit.
QCA. Shit, I was thinking about working in the workplace or something. So
quality control. Yeah.
Quality control associate or something. Anyway, so the PCA. You tell me your slant on it. I know everybody has a different view of it. Everybody I've heard out there, every channel, every person I talk with, they have a very specific view. But now yours of it now, and I know you have some very specific things to say about the gun, but say that for the last for me, because I want to know I want to get what you got from the PCA, not the QCA. Okay.
All right. Well, I think just like overall, summarily, how I feel about the PCA is when I read it, I just, it's so reminiscent of, the 100, echo chambered media articles we've read about the case. It's very narrative-like. It's stuff that it looks like if you put a WTHR emblem at the top of it, it literally could be their from their teleprompter, what they would read, or from a newspaper article. Just so vague and really not a whole lot in it. It doesn't make sense to me because instead of redacting in the normal manner that they redact legal documents where they put, you know, a big black box over the word that they want to redact, they just left that blank. So, you know, right off the bat, I noticed where it says, let me get my pages in order here. It says, oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me here for just 1 second. I should have had this ready.
Well, you're doing fine. Of course, you know, I kind of called you off guard because actually we didn't even plan it. So we were just kind of getting started off, and next thing I know, I was like, I want to see what Lauren's perspective is. And so I was like, I want to know. I mean, you know, you've obviously been paying attention to this thing for a long time, and of course, when I first met you, I don't know if I can tell your original name. Where this came from is Lauren's whiteboard. And it was like you had all these notes, and you had this board lit up with all kinds of notes and stuff. And of course, you know, this whole thing is captivating for all of us out here that listen to stuff like this. We want to know what other people are thinking. You know, we're trying to make sense of this because it doesn't make sense how some grown-ass people went up there and killed some little young girl on a bridge on a beautiful day in February in 2017. But did you find what you were looking for? You know?
Yes, I did. So where it talks, you know, in the beginning, it just says, February 14th, victim 1 and victim 2 were found deceased in the woods, et cetera, et cetera. And then it talks about the Monon High Bridge being in an abandoned railroad trestle. Like that literally to me sounds like how they would describe it in the news. Like they could have pulled all this from the news. And then, you know, you've got through the interviews, reviews of electronic records and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest store, investigators believe victim 1 and victim 2 were dropped off at approximately 1:49 and it just says blank. Now, one thing I want to know is why is that redacted? Because we've been told from the start, it's been reported widely and commonly accepted that it was the sister that dropped them off. I don't understand why that's, you know, redacted. She's not a juvenile, but I just wonder if, you know, something's not, if the facts don't match the narrative we've been given, and that's why they want it redacted. Maybe they don't want us to know that maybe everything we've been told isn't the truth, because that would be something for the defense to use if the public knew that. That would definitely taint a jury pool. You know, talk.
Let's dig into it, but get your mouth close to that microphone. Get down there.
Oh, okay.
Get down there close to me and talk about it, because I could probably hear you better. I know everybody else can is recording. So like, well,
all right.
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. Sorry about that.
I love it. No. I had to back up and look for a minute, and I don't blame you. I have to do the same thing. But anytime we can keep our voice down here, then people can understand what we're trying to say. Now you. Again, you know, you have an insight into this because, you know, you've told us your story in the past. I'm not going to repeat your story, but you have an insight into what's going on with those systems, behaviors of people and such in that area. And I mean, I've spoken with you a lot, and we come from very similar. Even though we're probably 1,000 miles apart, but there's this thread of humanity between all of us. It ties back to these people that we're talking about here, but and everything, you know, there may be a bigger belief system that's different by people, but a lot of people really care about this case, and I know that you do. And you know, of course, some people will like make fun of my view with it, and some people make fun of your view and everybody else's. And I don't want to make fun of anybody's view. If they've researched it, if they've studied it. And I understand personally, if I'm talking with you, that it may change over time. And I talk to you, and some things you said change, and some things I said change. But I'm just trying to get, you know, to dig in further to where you're at now. Because you told us some things. You know, you've released the cat out of the bag, or she released himself out back there. But there's more to dig down into. What else are you intuiting from this? I mean, just speculate with me. Stuff that's popped in your head. I mean, I'm not asking you to tell me the golden truth of what's going on with this case. Just what you feel with it. And you may even want to talk about that gun because, man, I've heard you talk about that recently. And, being a person who's been on a gun range, I mean, surely you know how to talk about a gun. What else? Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, I just want to go back to what Carter said when they asked him, is Richard Allen the man on the bridge? He wouldn't answer it. He would not answer that question. And to me, this probable cause affidavit is saying that Richard Allen, or is is saying that they have probable cause to believe that the man on the bridge is in fact Richard Allen. So if that's true, why wouldn't the superintendent of the Indiana State Police, who has been the spokesperson for this investigation from very early on, why would he not confirm that when he knows that that is what this probable cause affidavit would say? My feelings are that Doug Carter and Carroll County officials do not see eye to eye on this. Carter said, they asked him if he had seen the probable cause affidavit, if he had read it, and he said, yes, I've read the probable cause affidavit, I've seen it, and I believe in the probable cause affidavit. I believe in its outcome. He did not say, I believe it's true, I believe it's accurate, I believe it's anything. He said, I believe in its outcome. So you can all make of that what you will.
Well,
but I'm left to wonder, does he mean that the outcome is that it will not be proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
He always talks about
I just don't know.
He talks about what he knows and what he thinks. But now sometimes I think he talks about what he thinks. And what you're saying right there is he's not talking about what he knows because he can't guess the future like that. He's talking about what he thinks. I love Doug Carter to death, but sometimes he conjectures. He puts conjecture out there. Does he not? I mean,
he does. But yet at the same, we don't know all the stuff behind the scenes going on with this. There's been so much corruption alleged with Carroll County, and I want to state very clearly because obviously some people seem to be confused on this, and I don't mean that to come across rude. But Doug Carter is not the boss of the sheriff of Carroll County. Doug Carter does not dictate to the Carroll County Sheriff's Department how they will investigate this case, who they will arrest. He doesn't approve it or not approve it. You know what I mean? They're two separate agencies. The Indiana State Police came alongside Carroll County. And until Carroll County says, okay, we can't handle this investigation, we're out of our league, you guys take the lead, Doug Carter can't just swoop in and take the case away from him. He did say that they're all the lead on this, that they are a task force, whereas before it's been said that Carroll County was the lead. So I just want to point that out too. But Doug Carter and Carroll County, that's not apples to apples. That's apples to oranges. So, we don't know behind the scenes what's been found with a lot of that corruption. I think it's very funny timing that this was 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that before this highly contested election. I'm not the only one that thinks that. They needed a win. In my opinion, Carroll County and that administration, if what we've heard is true with, Tobe saying that if Tony Liggett, that he would help promote Tony Liggett if Tony Liggett agreed to make him chief deputy, if all of that is true, then they needed this arrest, or it was so close anyway that if they didn't have this arrest, that administration probably wouldn't have won, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it is weird that 1 week, the election was on the 8th, and this was happening on Halloween, which was 1 week, from the election that it went down. That's either some very big synchronicity for Mr. Tobe Lesenby and his administration, or that was I don't know what that was. I hope to God that it was just some synchronicity. a coincidence, as some people would say. But I mean, it is kind of weird that it went down there just a week before. But now, what about this gun though? So like in the if you go look at this PCA, and we're talking about this 40 caliber gun, you know something about it. About apparently there in terms of law enforcement, this was, I don't know why this is a big debate, but a lot of people were debating about whether or not it was a commonly used gun. I guess it revolves around whether he tried to portray to the girls that he was some kind of an official of some sort. But there is this debate about what kind of gun, or why he used a 40 caliber pistol, and about that live round, that live ammunition that was left there at the scene. Where's your brain going on that?
Well, this was interesting to me, especially interesting to me because actually in mid 2018, when my husband and I were looking at, what kind of, we wanted to add a better gun for home protection than what we had, just because what we had it had a small, round capacity, and we wanted to get something that was better, but I can't handle too much recoil, and I have a hard time with the slides on a lot of 9mm. So we started looking at the 40 caliber, actually the SIG P226, because at the time the market was literally flooded with police surplus of the P226 40 caliber, which is the P226 40 caliber. They were actually phasing those out of law enforcement at the end of 2017, around December is when they really started doing that. And so by 2018, we were able to get a really great deal on them because there were just so many coming in that the police were putting back into circulation, I guess, as they transitioned back to a 9mm. And the P226, we did a lot of research where we try to be smart consumers, and I'm not one of these people who's like, yeah, I've had my concealed carry permit for 10 years, never fired my gun, Now, I'm on the range at least twice a month because I think if you're going to have a weapon in your house, you, A, need to be able to use it effectively, and B, need to know how to use it safely. And so anyway, long story short, what we found out was that the P226 40 caliber was actually engineered specifically for law enforcement, specifically military police, Navy SEALs, and then it became where the FBI actually required all of their field agents to carry that exact gun. Now, I think they had gone back to the 9mm just a little before the time of the murders, but at the time of the murders, most local, municipal, and state law enforcement, you had your choice of 3 guns, which would be the P226 40 caliber. I think it was a Glock 22, and I think there was a 45 in there too. But this gun was designed, it's very accurate. It's got, really good visibility sights at night, in the dark. It's just an all-around superior weapon. So that being said, we purchased that gun, and we're very happy with it. And we were able to get, like I said, a really good deal because up until 2018, almost all law enforcement agencies used either that gun or a 9mm Glock. So for women or people with smaller hands or carpal tunnel or anything like that, that particular gun is going to be easier to handle. It's going to be, it's durable, it's reliable. And
hey,
I just think that it's,
I did see, but it wasn't a 226, but I did see that the 6 Hour had some lawsuits about it going off. But it was a different one than the 226. Okay, but now, so tell me how you feel about this dechambering of the live round that's thought about that PCA. Does that make sense to you? I mean, do you think that? I mean, with me personally, I don't use a pistol a lot. I use a 9mm some, but I've never even chambered unless it gets really tough. But like in my rifle that I hunt with, I chamber rounds in there 3 or 4 times. I may have 3 or 4 live ammunition rounds inside that gun at one time when I'm hunting, and then I'll eject them out. And I know it's going, like if I listen to what's going on with this PCA, then there's some kind of a markings on there. Is that, man, what do you feel about that, the PCA and the bullet?
I'm not going to speculate on how that particular bullet got there. I'm not going to speculate like, oh, it fell out of his pocket or he had a gun there and he cycled it through for whatever reason or it missed. I'm not going to say that because I'm not even going to say that I believe that came from Richard Allen's gun. I mean, that's just, I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America and due process, and I'm not going to convict this man in the public forum without seeing a little bit more than that, because when that came out and I read that, I'm like, extraction marks? I've never even heard of that. But I did remember that I had literally been to the gun range the day before the probable cause affidavit came out. And I had taken my 380 this time. And when I got done, one of my grips was a little bit loose, so I tightened it up with a screwdriver, And I use Hornady critical, hollow points, jacketed hollow points or whatever. And, but I use those for defense. So that's what I keep in my gun, at home to use for self-defense. But when I go to the range, I'm like, I'm not spending $1.50 a round when I'm going to shoot 50 rounds. So I use standard range bullets. And when you switch them out, you would chamber the first one. Like when I would empty the magazine, I fill it back up. Well, I'm not going to put them back in the exact same order. So anyway, I tighten up the grip. I put my self-defense magazine back in, chamber the round, put the safety on, and I put it in my safe. And then the PCA comes out, and I'm like, I want to know something. So I remembered I had 2 rounds just loose in my purse because they had fallen. And I was just trying to get out of the range, so I just stuck them in my purse. So I knew that those had been in my gun when the grip was loose. And the ones that I replaced it with when I got home had not been in the gun before the grip was loose. They were only in there after I tightened it. So I just, I'm not a gun expert, a weapons expert. I don't have a microscope. I don't have a certification or anything. But I have eyes and I have a camera that zooms, and I just took a look at those rounds. And the ones out of my purse that had been chambered while the grip was loose, I noticed that the wear on them, the marks, the scratches, both from, where the hammer hits the bullet and then from the extractor were completely different than the ones that had cycled through after I tightened that grip up. So I guess what that said to me was that something as simple as changing a grip, cleaning or putting your gun back together after you take it down to clean it, having to just do your routine maintenance on it, that is enough to alter that, quote, fingerprint that our guns leave on these rounds. I don't believe, from what I've seen, and like I said, I'm not a cop, I'm not anything, I'm just a person. From what I've been reading and what I have seen with my own eyes, I don't believe that an unspent round extraction marks are going to be really given much, like they might be able to show that it went through a specific model, but to my understanding, they can't show that it went through a specific individual's actual gun. Does that make sense?
Well,
and with that being the most commonly used weapon in law enforcement, isn't it possible that while all of those people were out searching the woods, that that it was dropped there then? I mean, we don't know. Does the person who found the bodies, does he have a gun? What kind is it? You know, I'm pretty sure he's a hunter if it's who we're told it was. You know, there were a bunch of law enforcement officers there, and they didn't have them sign in or anything. So we have no idea who was there. There's varying accounts of how many people were there. I've heard 100. I've heard 250. The other day I heard I think it was down the hill, maybe 500. Like, so that's potentially 500 people that could have dropped that bullet. You know, I just think they're going to have a really hard time. I just hope that if it is him, I hope that if Richard Allen is the man who killed those girls or had any part in it, that they have a hell of a lot more than what's in that probable cause affidavit. Otherwise, he's going to walk and we're not safe. So
everybody out here talking about it said, yeah, that bullet information sounds great. But you better have some fingerprints or some DNA right there. Because, I mean, and even still, like today I was reading some articles that my friend Tina sent to me, and I don't know if you sent it to me too as well, but no, you probably did today because out there. But now they're talking about how there's the freedom, some kind of what was Tina saying? Some kind of a freedom group was defending Richard Allen on this the same thing you were just talking about. These machine marks on this bullet. That's a very unreliable science right now. And of course, I would hope that if they're going to convict this man, and you have the Freedom Group, wherever they are, I mean, you know, they don't lose, according to everybody.
Oh, the Innocence Project? The Innocence Project?
Not Innocence, Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. You know, but,
I didn't even know. I hadn't even heard that, so I'll have to go and look. I've been kind of going down different, like I've been looking at different stuff, not so much what we know, the Richard Allen stuff, but a lot of stuff that I still have questions about, like how does the whole Keegan Kline thing play into it? You know, it's got to have some connection. And actually my husband, his minor was in, he has in management, and then he had to do a bunch of class. I'm not smart, so he had to do a bunch of classes in like statistics and stuff like that at Purdue. And I wrote him a whole list of like things that I want statistics on. Like I want to know what are the odds that two girls in that age group are going to be communicating with two predators, or are going to potentially have plans to meet two predators at this bridge, or, you know, were set up by these two predators. I just want to know, you know, what's the probability on that? Because I don't feel like the odds are very high that any of this is a coincidence. And I'm definitely not gonna lie. I'm a conspiracy person. Like, not because I think it's logical to think that there might be a conspiracy. I mean, they charge people with conspiracy to commit murder all of the time. They've said that he wasn't the only bad actor. And if that's the case, then two or more people who plan to murder and participate in it are committing conspiracy to commit murder. So
let me play along with you right now, because if we're to believe one narrative or the other narrative, there's two narratives that I see. One is that he was a lone wolf, which, man, his movements that day was so not indicative of a lone wolf. But the other way to do it is to go what McLean said, which is that there may have been other actors involved. So what else is the odds of a serial killer, which everybody accuses Richard Allen of being? I hear him talking about Jordan Sofer has been his first kill. And then I hear people talking about, you know, he's a serial killer. So that's one kind of evil. And then walking across the bridge with those girls is, you know, Keegan Kline and whoever his compatriots are, which are a huge, according to Doug Carter, one of the largest sex child sex ring ever in Indiana, maybe the whole United States. I don't even know. But I mean, what are the odds of two evils meeting those girls out there on that bridge that day? I mean, that was some biblical bullshit right there, bro. Because like if you have, the good Lord taking out killer and sex ring people in one fell swoop, bro. That's some deep biblical bullshit, or it's just bullshit. What do you think?
I think it's by design. I mean, I don't think it's, some big spiritual, good and evil. I think it's by design. I think that the right circumstances occurred simultaneously to allow the facilitation of this catfishing. I think a lot of factors went into that. I think that
okay, so tell me, is this tied to Kagan or someone like him, or is it just
someone like him? Someone like him. I'll say that. Someone like him.
But now, I'm not even doing it by himself. He couldn't be like, stalking these girls or something. I mean,
it couldn't be the other way around. It couldn't be that, maybe Alan was told that he was going to meet Anthony Schatz at the bridge, to exchange, materials or whatever. Or, we have the Marathon gas station. Everyone's in the probable cause affidavit. Another thing I wanted to point out was Alan had said he parked at the old Farm Bureau building, and it said in the probable cause affidavit that they believed he meant the CPS building because there was no Farm Bureau building. Now, they shouldn't be putting what they think into that, because they should do a little bit of checking, and they would see that actually there's about a 20-minute walk from the Monon High Bridge to the Bureau of Farm Services building, a.k.a. the USDA office that is right next door to Indiana Packers. So, I just throw that out there, that so far Richard Allen, I don't think, has told a lie in this that I can prove. I don't see anywhere where he's lying. He said he was there. He said that he saw the girls probably. He told them where he parked, which, knowing now that there's the Bureau of Farm Services building, a.k.a. the USDA, about a 20-minute walk, it's feasible that was also the truth, and that his vehicle wasn't the one at CPS, because we have so many varying accounts. We have a smart car. We have a purple PT Cruiser, and we have a black SUV. I don't believe that a Ford Focus, even if it was a hatchback Focus, looks anything like a smart car. I don't believe a black car looks purple, and I don't believe that it looks like an SUV. I think it looks like a little tiny baby car with a little extra butt on the end of it. It doesn't look like any of those vehicles to me. Wouldn't he have gotten rid of the gun? Wouldn't he have gotten rid of the jacket? He's had 5.5 years to get rid of that stuff that supposedly ties into this crime scene, and yet here he is, just still in Delphi, working at CVS, going to the bars, wearing his little blue Carhartt jacket.
Yeah, and driving the same car. Okay, hey, I'm gonna join Kitty and Ray. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be fun. Okay, all right, I'll be right back. Hold on one second for me.
Okay.